I'm Elisabeth Tova Bailey, and I'm an author. I was an author before I became a filmmaker. I wrote a book called The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating. And the book is about a year in my life when I was really ill and bedridden, and I observed this snail that lived at my bedside. I watched the snail for a whole year, and it was a fascinating experience. It helped me get through that year. So the book is a memoir about that year of observations of the snail. People couldn't actually see what I saw, and so I hired a cinematographer one day and created a mothscape on my kitchen table and shot some footage of a snail gliding to put up on my website. And that turned into a book trailer, which unexpectedly got national attention. And it was just so beautiful, the footage we caught of the snail. And as a result, I sort of thought about doing a short film. And despite having no background in filmmaking, I plunged in, and that's how I became a filmmaker. You can get all kinds of depth and layers into a written piece, but you still can't convey the actual visual movement of an animal. And that's what film was able to do. And the snail I watched had so many adventures and was so intriguing. And I wanted to actually show that through the lens of a camera. I could capture that in a very real way. And so it was quite exciting. Every animal has very unique challenges to work with on a film set. And there were many challenges with the snails, working with a gastropod. They like heat, humidity, and darkness, three things that are not good for cameras and shooting a film. They're very sticky. So the wardrobe detail was really challenging. If I wasn't paying attention at any moment, something could stick to the snail and kind of glide along with it. I had that one moment in the middle of the night when I thought, what am I doing? This is completely crazy. I have one grant for the film, and at the time when I was beginning the project, I thought, how am I going to get the snail to do what I want? The snail's going to do what it wants. But I felt like what intrigued me in my own experience before I even wrote the book, when this snail ended up in my bedroom, a friend had gone for a walk and found it in the woods and brought it back and literally put it in a flower pot and drove off. And I was stuck in bed. I couldn't get out of bed to return it to the forest. And I was actually kind of irritated because I didn't know what to do with this little creature by my bedside. But it came out of its shell and it began to explore. And I found myself fascinated and watching it, and it was very calming and meditative. And after a few days, I began to be very aware of its habits. It would go to sleep in the morning in the flower pot, and then at night it was nocturnal. It would wake up in the evening and have adventures right beside my bedside. So I wanted to capture those adventures in the film, and that's what we did. And it was it actually worked. It was it's amazing because it can take 2 minutes for a snail to cross a film screen, and yet we had to create a plot-packed short film. It's a 15-minute film, and it is an edge-of-your-seat. It's both calming, and yet it's also, you're sort of on the edge of your seat because you don't know what this amazing creature is going to do next. But creating that through the editing process took a lot of time, very detailed edit. I think that my film is actually very much about home, and it's also about displacement and how you find home when you have been displaced, whether it was the snail for a short time not being in its forest but being in a human environment, or a human who, is ill and can't be in their normal physical world the same way. So home can become something smaller like your room, even your bed. The snail I think what really amazed me about the snail was it created its habits and its home within a place a snail had never lived before, which was a bedroom. And this flower pot became its home. So we adapt. We have no choice, and we rise to that occasion, and we do create home wherever we are. I think when you're really severely ill and you can't even get out of bed, home becomes what you see around you. It can even become where you go in your mind. The earth is our home. It's where we all evolved, snail or human. I think we need to look at every animal, no matter what size, and understand that it can do some things that are truly unique that no other animal in the world can do. And I think that's the most important thing I learned writing the book, is how every single animal has multiple traits that are magnificent and extraordinary, that we would only see in a kid's cartoon, when Spider-Man just climbs up a wall. So, the respect we need to have for other species is profound, and it doesn't matter whether they're fast-moving or slow-moving or tiny or huge. Generally, the larger animals, especially mammals, get the most attention, and I think we need to equalize that and give attention equally to the smaller, less glamorous, slow-moving animals that have incredible traits. So partly I wanted to so I also wanted to create a book and a film that could be used by the medical world to help professionals in the medical world understand the importance of biophilia for their patients, and also to just explore the challenges a patient faces so that caregivers can understand a little more also about what a patient is going through. So the sound of a snail eating, which is in the title of the film and the title of the book, is very difficult to capture in a recording. It's too quiet, really, to do a clean airborne recording of that sound. If you record in the traditional way where the sound is going through the air, the hum on the wires of the recording equipment, once you clean that out, you actually lose quite a bit of the snail's sound. So for the film, I had to work with a very specialized recording setup devised by John Bullitt, a sound artist. And it was a substrate recording method where we actually recorded the vibrations of the snail's bite into the food it was eating. So we would put the snail on the food, and the food was on the recording disc, and the vibration would go into that disc and turn into the sound that we used in the film. And we had very different sounds depending on what the snail ate. If it was petals, it was a little crunchier. If it was mushroom, it was a really cool and wonderful, more softer sort of a sound that the snail made while eating. So those sounds are in the film, and that's the sound of 2,642 teeth eating. I love the San Francisco Green Film Festival. I'm thrilled that the film will be at the Exploratorium, and thank you.